Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ryan Crash Williams of Crash Sports, and welcome to my new YouTube channel. I'll be using this to update everybody on analysis, rumors, news, game results, what have you, that surround Major League Baseball, concern the league, the teams, the players, etc. And I'm going to start today. I'm going to do my launching video, if you will, by discussing a couple of the deals that have come together over the last couple of days. I'm going to start with the deal on Monday that sent Aroldis Chapman to the Cubs from the Yankees. Um, the Yankees, as you may know, traded Aroldis Chapman to the Chicago Cubs in exchange for Adam Warren, Gleyber Torres, Billy McKinney, and Rashad Crawford. Aroldis Chapman is 3-0 on the year. This is what he was with the Yankees. He was 3-0 on the year, 2.01 ERA, WHIP of 0.89, and saved 20 games in just 31 opportunities. 20 saves in just 31 games. Now, my analysis of this trade a little bit. This is one of the few trades that I've seen in the last few months, or even maybe the last year, that I loved for both sides. I think that the Cubs, what they had to do, they were looking for that ninth inning piece that they felt was going to take them to the next level in terms of their viability as a World Series contender. Obviously, well-documented curse, haven't been to the World Series in over 100 years, and they felt that they could move Pedro Strop back to the eighth inning, slot in Aroldis Chapman in the ninth, and they could afford to part with Adam Warren, who's as you may know, a former Yankee pitcher, fan favorite for the team for several years. He returns to the Yankees. Gleyber Torres, number 26 prospect in Major League Baseball, number 1 on the Cubs, and number 9 among shortstop prospects in Major League Baseball. He goes to the Yankees. He's 19 years old. He'll be at Single A. Billy McKinney, he's an outfielder. He's number 5 prospect for the Cubs. He was included into the deal because the Yankees pretty top heavy on outfield prospects. You've got Aaron Judge over there, but a lot of the guys that you've seen there who have been outfield prospects for the Yankees are guys who ultimately end up either being used as trade throw-ins or trade pieces, or just guys that haven't panned out. I'm looking at guys like Ranier Mustellier. I'm looking at guys like Ramon Flores, like Slade Heathcott. I'm looking at several players over the last couple of years who have been outfielders that came up through the Yankees system that just haven't panned out. They were in a situation where they wanted to get deeper. They wanted to thicken, if you will, their farm system in the outfield. So Billy McKinney going from the Cubs to the Yankees. And finally, a player to be named later that was later announced as being Rashad Crawford. He's definitely the most unknown of these guys. He's not on any top 100 prospect list. He's not on any top 30 prospect list with the Cubs or anything like that. He's basically a minor league guy that the Yankees wanted to take a flyer on. They saw some talent in him, and he's someone that the team had pursued last year in the deal that ultimately sent Starlin Castro to the Yankees. Which, by the way, side note on that, the Yankees essentially now acquiring Starlin Castro for free now that the other prospect or other player involved in the original deal that sent Castro to the Yankees, that sent Brendan Ryan from the Yankees to the Cubs, he later was sent to the Nationals, and Adam Warren is obviously now back on the Yankees as a result of this trade, essentially giving the Yankees Starlin Castro for free. So let's talk about this deal a little bit more. You got the Chicago Cubs. I graded the Cubs at an A- for this deal. I love this deal for the Cubs. I gave them an A- because I think that the Cubs really believe that this is their year. They really think that this is the year to break that curse. I'll go back to that. They wanted a back end of the bullpen type to move Pedro Strop up to the eighth, slot in a big time arm in the ninth, big time shutdown arm in the ninth that teams just don't want to see in October. This will actually, in all likelihood, be Aroldis Chapman's first time um, returning to or getting to pitch in the playoffs, returning to the NL Central. Look at the Pirates, Brewers, and Cardinals. They're probably relieved when the Reds traded Chapman to the Yankees, and now they're thinking, "Oh crap, we gotta face him again." But I gave the Cubs an A- on this deal. The only reason I didn't give them higher than that is because there is that risk that the Cubs have at the end of the year that Aroldis Chapman will leave the team. Obviously, he becomes a free agent at the end of 2016. There's that risk that he could leave the Cubs. There's been well documented reports, strong interest from both the Yankees and him of reuniting with a long term deal in the offseason. He wanted to come back. Um, a lot of people, a lot of analysts and reporters kind of maybe overanalyzed a little bit on Chapman's statement when he was traded from the Yankees to the Cubs, saying "Bye for now, Yankees fans." Um, but he really did feel like he had a family there, and he said that he, God willing, would love to go back to New York after this season. And it sounds like there's a chance that could happen. If that does, that's a big part of the reason why I would give them an A- for this deal. If they do bring back Chapman, obviously that grade goes up. Let's look at the Yankees side of this. Yankees Adam Warren bringing back a former Yankee pitcher. He knows the coaching staff. He knows the players. Um, Fans loved him when he was with New York. He was able to start. He could relieve. He could relieve for one inning, or he could give them 3 or 4 innings if their starter, for whatever reason, didn't get past the third, fourth, fifth inning. Adam Warren could be that bridge guy. Kind of funny side note that the Yankees had been seeking for most of the year that guy to fill the Adam Warren role, as management and players and fans often put it. And it turns out Adam Warren will be filling the Adam Warren role at least for the foreseeable future. The centerpiece of this deal, going back to the Yankees, definitely Gleyber Torres, number 26 prospect in baseball, number 1 in the Cubs, number 9 among shortstops in baseball. Very highly regarded, number 19, age 19. He was the top prospect in the Cubs organization. This is the guy that the Yankees really wanted. Um, there's a lot of skepticism. Why are they going after another shortstop prospect? They've already got Jorge Mateo. They've already got Wilkerman Garcia. They've already got, um, several other players in the minor leagues who can play shortstop. This is not about position. This is about talent. This is about value. This is about getting and recouping what they felt was the most talented package they could to benefit them for the long term. And Gleyber Torres is the guy that they felt would be the best centerpiece in that deal. And they could obviously always move Torres or one of the others, Mateo, Garcia, etc. Always move these guys around. Shortstops are notoriously very versatile, typically. Probably the most versatile position in baseball. You could easily move Torres or another one of the minor league shortstops that they have to another position: second base, third base, outfield, first base. Look at the Cubs. They've got Wilson Contreras, who can catch, but he's also been used in the outfield. They've got you look at Chris Bryant, primarily third baseman, also can play outfield though. You've got Kyle Schwarber, who can catch, play first base, and play outfield. The Cubs got to where they are right now in part because they have so many versatile players, and that's what the Yankees wanted. They've had them in the past. They've had a Jason Nix. They've had Eduardo Nunez, who, by the way, as a side note, also got traded last night to the San Francisco Giants for a minor league player. But anyways, this is the kind of versatility the Yankees saw in their potentially acquiring Gleyber Torres. And by the way, it's no accident that these guys like Ben Zobrist, Nunez, Jason Nix, no accident that these guys all have the same primary position, which was shortstop. Billy McKinney. Billy McKinney is an outfielder. He's the number 5 prospect in the Cubs organization. He's going to the Yankees as well. This is somebody that the Yankees wanted to, as I stated earlier, wanted to kind of add to the outfield depth. Most of their outfielders being used as trade bait or as as trade pieces or trade throw-ins in recent years. Ramon Flores, Ronnie Armostelier, to name a few. And then you have Rashad Crawford, who's thrown in as a player to be named later, someone that the Yankees tried to add to the deal as well. Have been scouting him in the past. So, anyways, I gave the Yankees an A+ on this deal because just you got as much as you could have hoped for, and probably more than you should have hoped for a 2-month rental in Aroldis Chapman. They gave up 4 guys, none of whom were top 10 prospects even on their team. They got back 2 top 5 prospects from the Cubs, who are notoriously one of the best young teams and have one of the best young pipelines in baseball. Number 26 prospect in the game in Gleyber Torres. Adam Warren, this is kind of like, he's a major league piece. He's kind of like the feel good guy. He's the fan favorite, the coming home story. Send him back to the Yankees, fill that need as well. I could give the Yankees much higher than an A+ if they do lock up Aroldis Chapman after this year and essentially get this package for nothing. If not, a 2-month departure from Aroldis Chapman when they already have 2 of the best bullpen arms in the American League, if not all of baseball. Second deal, this is a deal that just went down today. This is between the Marlins and the Padres. Marlins acquiring Andrew Cashner from the San Diego Padres in exchange for Jared Cosart, Josh Naylor, and Luis Castillo. Andrew Cashner. Andrew Cashner is, Colin Ray was also going to, he's a pitcher, he's also going to the Marlins as well. Andrew Cashner is having a bit of an off year, 4.7, 4.76 ERA this year. However, he's a combined 21 and 32, also relatively subpar if you just look at the record from 2013 to 2015. What's more important to look at is his ERA, which is 3.43 in that span, including in 2014 having a 2.55 ERA with the Padres. SpotTrack projects him to be worth, just based on his recent numbers, $11.1 million this year, and he's making just over $7 million. So you got kind of that, and he's also a free agent after this year. So you kind of got that low risk, high reward. Colin Ray not having a great year. He's 5-5, 26 years old, 4.98 ERA. Don't love this deal so much for the Marlins, and you'll find out more why when I say what they gave up. I just feel like Andrew Cashner, if you're going to give up 3 names like Cosart, Naylor, and Castillo, specifically Naylor and Castillo, particularly those 2 guys, I feel like you should have gotten more than Cashner. And if you're going to get Cashner for those guys, if you're going to give up those 2 guys just for Cashner and Rhea, you better be sure that Cashner is the guy that's going to take you from being a fringe contender to a guy that's going to be, or to a team that's going to be winning the NLDS, pushing through the NLCS, which they've got more holes than that, just plain and simple. They just have more holes than that. They've got the worst farm system in baseball, aside from the Angels, probably worse than the Angels after making this deal and giving up Naylor and Castillo. They've got more holes to fill than just a starting pitcher. So for the Marlins, I give them a C- just for that reason. If Cashner is that guy that can go in there and he has a sub-3 ERA the rest of the way, and they ride his success to the playoffs, they ride it through the NLDS into the NLCS, and can make a push for the NL championship, then it's worth it. But if not, this is what I consider to be an extreme overpay. Jared Cosart, even though he's the biggest name, he's probably the least valuable piece in the long term. He's only made 4 starts this year due to injury. He's got control problems this year. He's got 16 walks on the year to just 11 strikeouts. Josh Naylor was Miami's top prospect, only top prospect, according to several rankings. He is really the only one who's unanimously considered a top 100 prospect in baseball. 19-year-old first baseman, was at single A this year, hit 269 in 89 games, and had a 747 OPS. So, pretty relatively average numbers, probably a tick above average for single A at the age of 19. But he's really more of a splits guy. You got someone who against lefties he's hitting 292 and got an OPS of about 800 this year. So he's definitely a splits guy. He's only hitting 212 when he's hitting from the other side. Um, Final piece in this deal was Luis Castillo. Castillo is an advanced A. He's one level higher than Josh Naylor. However, he's 4 years older. He's 23 years old, so a little bit older than you'd like to see somebody at advanced A. However, having a very successful year, 7-3, 2.25 ERA. In 18 starts, only 82 hits allowed this year in 100 innings pitched. I do like this deal for the Padres, and just based on talent alone, I would definitely give them an A on this deal. The one concern that I have about the Padres is we've seen this before from them. We saw this with the trade a few years ago with the Rays when they got Will Myers. We saw this a couple years ago with several other deals they've made. We've seen this with the Melvin Upton Jr. trade. We've seen this when they traded Chase Headley to the Yankees and got back Rafael DePaula and Yangervis Solarte. Solarte, decent, but he's not a great player. It's just, if they didn't have that kind of history, that kind of recent history in those deals where they trade for pieces to build their team around and the pieces just don't mesh. If they didn't have that history, this is an A deal for them all day long, in my opinion. I give them a B based on that history. Finally, there's a rumor that's been floated in the last hour by John Palmarosi, reporting that the Washington Nationals have backed off their stance of not being willing to include Lucas Giolito in trades, and reportedly are now willing to discuss him in a deal for Yankees pitcher Andrew Miller. Miller has led the Major League Baseball in multiple statistical categories among relief pitchers, including top 3 in WAR each of the last 3 years. Widely considered to be one of the top 2 relief pitchers in the American League ever since 2014, when he obviously was with the Red Sox, traded to the Orioles, and then later signed a free agent deal with the Yankees. His name has been kicked around. The Yankees are not necessarily desperate to deal Andrew Miller after trading Aroldis Chapman. Sure, they could get a bevy of prospects for him, or at least a couple of extremely talented prospects. However, now that they have won 8 of their last 11 games, winning 21 of their last 36, including 4 of the last 5 series that they've played in, there's not really any pressure on them to make this deal, especially going up against a extremely weak team this year, like Tampa Bay, which they're facing this weekend in Florida. They've got a road series against them that starts tonight. But unless they really got swept by Tampa Bay this weekend, there's really not a pressure on Cashman or anybody in the ownership to move Miller without getting what they're seeking, and then some, which is basically 3 times as much in value, not necessarily in quantity, but in value, as they got for Aroldis Chapman, dealing him to the Cubs this week. If they do make this deal, Lucas Giolito, obviously number 4 Major League Baseball prospect, number 1 prospect in the game in pitching. I would guess that there'd be more pieces involved. This is a bit of an odd deal to just do straight up. This is a deal that obviously I think would benefit both sides greatly. The Nationals desperate for another bullpen arm. You've got Jonathan Papelbon over there, who's been struggling of late. Blew a save again this past week. Andrew Miller immediately would slot in as their closer, or if he was asked, he could slot in as their setup man behind Jonathan Papelbon as well. He's been willing to do both. He was the setup man this year after relinquishing closer duties to Aroldis Chapman with the Yankees when Chapman came back. And there's not really anything pressing the Yankees, nothing prodding them to make a deal, but they are open to the possibility if they find a team willing to do the overpay, which it sounds like the Nationals may be willing to do. Well, I will come back if I hear anything else. If anything else breaks in the next 3 days, we're now just over 72 hours, about 73 hours actually, from the Major League Baseball trade deadline. So, expecting a very busy weekend full of rumors, reports, and eventually transactions. Um, I'll be back with if there's anything else. But until then, stay warm, stay loving your sports, guys. Come back soon.